Today, Lumix just announced the S1 Mark II, but alongside it, they also announced the S1 Mark IIe, which I would say is the upgraded, better version of the S5iiX. And in this video, I'm going to be deep diving into what this camera can do and why it might be worth considering. Let's dive in. Now, the first thing I do want to touch point on before I even get in this video is going to be the price point. A lot of people are going to be looking at this price point and say it's not worth it when you pit it to what the price currently for the S5iiX is. Now, I do want to shift that mindset just a little bit in this video just to kind of give a little bit more perspective of what the original S5iiX launched at. The Lumix S5iiX launched at around $2,200. Meanwhile, the Lumix S1 Mark IIe is going to begin launched at $2,500. So it's a $300 price difference. And I think that is where we need to have the mindset of these cameras. Is $300 going to be worth the extra features, bodies, design, and themes that you're going to be getting out of this camera, which let's get into it. And of course, this is definitely a lot more money currently than the S5iiX, which is running around $1,800 to $1,900. But if you do hit this into comparison to when that camera got launched, it's that $300 of a difference, which is where I kind of want to have that mindset of this video. Because eventually when people are watching this video much later on in the months to come, Black Friday is going to be roaming around, used market's going to come up, and that's where I want to position this video of, is that $300 extra from the S5iiX to the S1 Mark IIe worth it? And of course, again, the S5iiX has been around for 2 years. It's more on the used market, it's more on the discounted market, and the S1 Mark IIe is still brand new as I'm recording this video. So definitely that $600 or $700 price difference isn't going to be worth the minor upgrades that you're getting in this camera. But if you kind of take it into that perspective, $300 perspective, and when this camera eventually gets discounted or on the used market, then is it worth considering getting the S5iiX or the S1 Mark IIe? But first thing we can talk point on is going to be that physical design. This is where I think the biggest kicker is with this camera. This is the exact same design as the Lumix S1 Mark II, the S1R Mark II, camera body designs. You have that front record button, you have the front function button, you have that entire exact same chassis as those other flagship cameras. You're also going to be getting your front and rear tally lights. You're going to have the tilt up, out, and tilt free screen that this camera has. You have the individual port access. And then one of my favorite things on this is you do have that dedicated photo, video, and slow and quick. So it kind of makes this camera feel like a 3-in-1 by switching between the different settings. The overall comfort and grip feel of this camera just feels a little bit more premium in comparison to the S5iiX, especially with that front record button and having that tilt out screen. If you asked me, is that $300 worth it? And everything else is the exact same. Some people might say no. Personally speaking, being in the video production world, just having the screen being able to flip up like this as you press record, having the dedicated photo, video switch on the top, having that front record button, having the tally lights, having things like that is definitely a huge win in my books. One thing I wish that they kept though the same between this camera and the S5iiX is I wish that there was still 2 SD cards instead of the 1 SD and CF Express Type B card, just because the video settings you're going to be recording onto this camera is mainly going to be just the same type of settings you'll be recording on the S5iiX. So let's talk about that, the video specs of this camera. So the big video specs that I'm mostly interested in this camera, you still get open gate 6K, 24 and 30 frames a second. You also get 4K, 48 and 60 frames a second, but there's still that APS-C 1.5x crop. So what else do you get with this camera? Well, you get 2 extra things. One, for your 6K options, you do get 6K to 4x1 cine scope, which basically means you get the full width, but you're missing the height of the top and the bottom of the sensor. Basically though, it looks really cool when you're filming little bits in it, but when you realistically want to use that type of setting and crop into your image, you're going to be having a 1.3x crop. So it's 0.2x of a difference, which does make a difference to some people. Now, the other very impressive video specs and settings to why you need that CF Express Type B card with this camera is you do also get Apple ProRes RAW internally in this camera. So you can shoot 5.8K up to 30 frames a second in RAW HQ or just in your standard RAW. This is definitely a heavy codec, but if you need it or if you want those ProRes options internally, not recording into an SSD, you do get that with this camera, which for some people, that workflow alone, being able to shoot ProRes internal into a Safe Express Type B card, could be worth that $300 difference when you're comparing the launch price. Now, these next two features that you can get with this camera is a little bit subjective because it does cost extra additional costs to have them inside the camera. The first one is going to be the 32-bit flow audio. You do have to purchase the XLR2 unit, but once you have the XLR2 unit and you want to eventually upgrade to the S1iiE or the S1R Mark II, or if you have it from the GH7 or anything like that, then you're going to be getting 32-bit flow audio internal onto your MOV video files, which is honestly really clutch when you're doing any documentary work or doing client work and you want to have that flexibility and you don't need an entire video or audio recorder on the side because it could be just going directly into your camera. Granted, it is an extra $500 for that. The next paid feature that you can be getting with this camera is going to be the ARRI C3 color picture profile. What that basically means is you're going to be getting the ARRI color science in a Lumix camera, which is some of the best color workflow and one of the industry standards in terms of the color grading profile. And it also allows you to start playing with what the professionals are using in high-end cinema and start understanding that color workflow. So if you ever eventually start shooting or working with ARRI colors or working in that log C3 color profile, then you're already gonna know what you need to be doing with a Lumix camera, which I think is pretty cool. Now, talking about colors, I will have to say the S1 Mark IIe and the S1iiE as well are extremely color accurate images. I would say those two cameras specifically pair up really nicely. Now, when you put the color of the S1iiE against the S5iiX, I would say definitely the S1iiE just gives that little bit of an extra edge of terms of color. You can still get that same type of image on an S5iiX. It just takes a slight bit of more of massaging, but in all honesty, Vlog and all Lumix cameras tend to just really look really good with not that much work needed. Now, my final thoughts on this camera, is this worth the extra $300? Well, in terms of just the body design alone, if this was $300 more than the S5iiX, I definitely would say just because of the body design alone, it would make more sense to me to have a better designed camera that is just laid out better with the tilt up screen, that front record button. These are a couple features that I felt like I was missing so much when I stopped shooting as much on the GH7 or the GH6 and started shooting more on the S5iiX. Having this in this style camera body just kind of gives me that extra oomph that I really like using and shooting with. Now, who would I recommend this camera? Well, if you already own the S5iiX, I would say this camera is probably going to be a pass for you. It doesn't really make too much sense to have the S5iiX and an S1iiE. It would make more sense at that point if you have the S5iiX, you're looking to upgrade that camera. I personally recommend just save the money a little bit more and then eventually get an S1iI. Now, if you had to decide between the S5iiX or the S1iiE, again, it really is going to be depending on the price point. If we're talking about right now what the prices are at, well, the S5iiX just makes a lot more sense. For that camera going around $1,800 to $1,900 and heck, even sometimes lower around $1,500 to $1,700, just because that camera has been in the market for 2 years, that camera is going to be at a much lower price point with very similar features. Granted though, if that price point when you're watching this video is closer to that $200 to $300, I personally would say get the S1iiE at that point. Spend those extra few $100s and you're gonna thank yourself for having that tilt-free screen. You're gonna thank yourself for that front record button, the tally lights, the false colors. These type of features just kind of give you more of what a professional workflow will look like for cinematographers and filmmakers. Now, the last person I would recommend this camera for is someone who already owns, or a video production company that already owns, the Lumix S1iI. if you're deciding to get the S1 II as your A cam and you're thinking about picking up a B cam, the S5iiX or the S1 II, well, in all honesty, the S1iiE is going to be a solid B cam for the S1 II just because the color science is almost identical. You can basically apply the exact same looks and LUTs on one grade to the next, and you're going to be getting the exact same result without any extra massaging needed in the color grading process. So I guess those are my initial impressions on the Lumix S1iiE. Love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below, and if you guys have any questions, drop them there as well. And if you are interested in seeing my initial overview on the S1 II, check out that video right there. YouTube recommends you might like this video right here. Till next one, guys, peace.